Here's the beauty of martial arts, and something that I really love about martial arts as a whole is when philosophies and just principles transfer from one discipline to another. And the one that we're going to discuss today is trapping. We got Rob here from Combat Self-Defense. We're down here in Austin, Texas for the weekend, and so we wanted to kind of talk about trapping. And because you and I both have diverse backgrounds in martial arts, the one thing that I think we can both agree on is that the principle of trapping applies across multiple different disciplines, whether people realize it or not. Now, the first method, or my first exposure to trapping for me, was in our Taekwondo system, and we called it the brush and grab. And so the idea that he throws a punch, I block with the one hand, I come underneath with the other hand, I trap down with the other hand, and it opens up an opportunity for me to strike. Now, we utilize this just as a simple way of just warming up, just back and forth over and over, and then obviously you can add in variation. So maybe this one time he throws a punch, instead of coming outside first, I come inside and come through. Over time, when I started getting into boxing and Muay Thai, then I kind of started realizing, like, oh shit, I've been doing trapping all this time and I didn't even realize it. And so again, it's not, in my eyes, and you may view it differently, but in my eyes, trapping is used primarily for two things. One, it opens an opportunity for you to land a strike, and two, it disrupts your opponent or your attackers, because you can use this in self-defense, believe it or not, but it disrupts your opponent's game per se. So again, if he's like in whatever guard he's in, if he's, you know, if I'm trying to just land all these strikes, land body shots, and he's just defending it, it's just the idea that I'm literally just peeling, and again, MMA gloves, boxing gloves, doesn't matter, bare hands. It's this idea that I'm clearing down the hand for a split second to where I can land a quick hit. And it's not one, at least from how I've always done it, where I'm not like holding the arm here, because now we're gonna get into like this muscle off, and it's just, it changes everything. And I'm not also like stuffing it. It's just the idea that I'm literally peeling and landing a strike. And it doesn't have to be one hand. It can literally just be like here, and I throw a quick one. It may not be a knockout shot, but I now landed a shot. And if you do that a couple times, land a hit, land a hit, land a hit, like one of those might land really well, or he's now gonna be at the point where, okay, I can't do that anymore. Now he has to change up his game. Like, sure, maybe he goes long guard a little bit. Same idea, strike here, strike here. If he's, you know, tucking his elbows, it's the same idea. Maybe I don't wanna go up, maybe I wanna peel up the elbow and strike down at the gut. So for me, trapping has always just been a way to open up opportunities to strike and disrupt your game per se.
Yeah, it's psychological warfare, right?
Yes.
For simplicity's terms, every Muay Thai person on the planet's gonna get mad at me. You have 4 weapons. You have this arm, this leg, right? If I can take away this arm, you now have 3 weapons. Yes, I only have 3, but I'm more actively using all 4 of mine, right? If I can, for whatever reason, take away both of them, now you only have 2, I have 1, right? So trapping it's an inherent thing we want to do. Same thing, it's literally the same concept as putting someone on their back.
Right.
You are taking away their ability to do something to you. My theory, I love trapping. I love traditional martial arts, karate trapping, Jeet Kune Do, Wing Chun trapping. I love the way it's done in boxing. It exists in everything, and I love the way it's done. My problem with the way it's practiced is that it starts from the most complicated, and then it gets simple. Like you said, you did it forever in Taekwondo, and then all of a sudden you started training combat sports, and you're like, oh, I've been doing it all the time.
Right.
This one right here, the brush block, go ahead and give me that, is like the most complicated way to do it.
Right.
The simplest way, give me that same one right there, right? Just here, boom.
Right.
Or even here, boom. That one's a little bit harder, but it's the same thing. It's the simplest way because it's 1, 2, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And right? I get it from like, if you're doing it from like a school perspective, it's a drill, it's good for the kids, it works coordination. Here's my left hand, here's my right hand, here's how I put them together. Like, it allows me to piece things together. I understand that aspect. I agree with you that it is a bit complicated, because the amount of times I had to talk, like, no, other hand goes, oh, no, switching, no, do this. And reality, I just want to smack the hand. And I had kids that were literally like, they would throw the punch, and they're like doing this, and like getting off at the angle, and at the time I'm like, no, you're doing it wrong. That's not the deal. Like, you're doing, and then now, you know, down the road, doing boxing, whatever, like you throw a punch and I come over here, like I'm in a phenomenal position. Like you've been doing this all along, and now I'm in a really good spot. So yeah, I agree that like a lot of trapping, again, unless maybe you start off in more of like a strictly self-defense based environment where they're teaching you like a quick trap, or if you start off in a boxing environment where they're teaching you all sorts of different catches, jab, you know, trapping on that sense. But yeah.
The other thing too is like, trapping is just probably, it's for me one of the coolest things you can do standing up.
Yes.
Like if you throw a punch at me, I come here, can't hit me back. Boom, right here, boom. This is all super cool stuff. So again, coming from a school perspective, my students are gonna be super interested to see what are we gonna do off of that today, right? As opposed to like, he's gonna throw a punch, you're gonna parry, you're gonna punch over the top, or you're gonna parry here, opposite hand, right? Like It's cool, it's useful, but it's kind of boring.
But trapping, I would still argue that you can get away with some of the fancier trapping in live combat.
100%.
You know, maybe not street, but at least for sport, where I know like they're not allowed to do certain things, I can get away with, you know, maybe he throws like the jab and I trap here, like I can get away with this. You know, maybe the first time I hit here, but I can do it, you know, over again, and eventually I might be able to land that. So like you can get away with some of the fancier traps, but it's still just a principle. And again, I've done it a lot where, you know, guys will be like covered up and I'll throw kind of, you know, kind of a couple punches, I force you to shield up, and if you don't shield, like I'm landing those hits. And then once you're kind of feeling comfortable and I feel like, okay, maybe this guy's about to just, hoping that I just do this and he's just gonna wail on me, quick trap and go. So I get you comfortable in your shield, like, okay, at any moment I'm about to just wind up and throw a random hit at this guy. Oh, nope, he just ripped me down. And so now it's like, now I can't even shield anymore, because you're just gonna, any which way I go. And now, the caveat is if you do it all the time in sport, people are gonna catch on. Yeah. So, like, you have to use it wisely, similar to like arm drags or something. I can't just sit there and arm drag you all day long, because eventually someone's gonna catch on. But to know that that's always a threat, and you never know when I'm actually going to hit it, that from a sport perspective is a big part.
I think there's also something to be said about the range that you can apply trapping in. Like you can apply it in this range, like you said, if they're shelled up here, right, boom, start pulling here, right? That's the time when you can use it. Or the time that I have fun with it, not the most useful time to do it, is when you're out here in the long range, the long guard range, right? You throw literally anything at me, hey, right? Right, so this is, I'm not gonna do anything off of it, but I'm just showing you, right, I got something to do, right? This range, the fighting range, is not the time to be doing it. Or at least it's not the safest time to do it, because if I'm here, and you, yeah, right there, right?
There is risks involved with trapping. Don't just think you can just, I can trap from anywhere in the stand-up and I'm completely content. But
there's inherent risks to everything you do, but some are riskier, right? Like I would say if you're focusing only on trapping, well, it's like focusing only on defense and never learning how to throw a punch, right? That's literally what you're doing.
Right.
You are, yes, learning to create an avenue, here, create an avenue to make that happen, but you are depending on him to leave that for you, right? That's like on, I need you to
really emphasize that punch and really overexert it, and But again, like you mentioned at the beginning, it's mental.
Yeah.
So part of fighting, especially in sport, is getting in your opponent's head. So if you start chipping away at their mental game and get them thinking like, I just can't do anything because this guy's just gonna, no matter what punch I do, he's got a counter, he's opening the opportunities. Or if I start, you know, coming in with like the blocks, like sure, I'm gonna block it. Exactly. You're ripping up the arms, you're pulling down the arms, whatever. Like anything that I approach you with, you're finding a way to trap it. Which again, the purpose of trapping, you're disrupting my game, but you're also creating openings. You're creating avenues to get strikes where I think like, oh yeah, like I got this, you know, or I got like the high shoulder here and like I'm good and that's fine. And so maybe I throw this and whatever. You're finding openings that I didn't even know were there because in my head, I'm completely protected.
Another point that I think is important is that everything you do to defend yourself from a strike is technically also a trap, right? Like keeping it real simple. If you throw like that overhand haymaker at me, boom, this is a trap because created the frame here, stop this from hitting me, boom, right?
Yeah.
It's really simple.
Indirectly a trap.
Indirectly it's a trap, right? Like that's the thing. For me, we pick words to describe things for a specific reason. Trapping for me doesn't mean, let's say here, I pinned your arm against your body, because that's pinning your arm against your body. I'm not trapping your arm against your body. If I wrote that in my 8th grade English paper, my teacher would get mad at me, right? That's a pin, not a trap. A trap means I have gotten you to do something for me, and I have now exploded that trap on you, right? So when we think about this, we don't want to think like it's always going to be brush block, strike here, or pin the body, or what. It's just anytime you create a free shot.
Right.
Here.
Create an avenue.
Right, exactly. Here, self-defense crash, right? You crash into me here, boom, you trap me. You trap me.
Right, yeah. Like if you're going from like a basic premise of like what is trapping at the end of the day, the best way to start with it is, in my opinion, is use it to chip away their defense. So don't worry about, you have to get comfortable with punches, because I feel like if people throw a punch and you do this, like if you're not doing anything, you're just wasting your energy at that point. So this, in my opinion, is more of like the advanced way of knowing how to, because you got to know how to throw counters off. I got to know how to land those punches. So the first part that I would say to practice with is start with like a defense. When you're going against a guy and they're locked up and they're, you know, doing whatever, you know, kind of do your pressure jab a little bit, kind of feel them out, and then when you're ready, create an opening and just start with that. Start as this as your basic mechanics of just understanding trapping, because that's like the bare basics of clearing, opening an avenue, throwing strike.
You know what you just did, right?
Yes.
just invented a Wing Chun dummy.
Yeah.
That's literally what you just did.
Yeah.
But a better one.
Yeah. So, but that in my opinion is the basic. Then as you start getting more advanced, then we can go back to like a brush and grab idea, which one of the drills as we did it, and I'll end it on this, one of the drills that we did growing up is we would start with just brush and grab. And like, yes, we're kind of stagnant, we're moving around a little bit, but we're not doing anything crazy. Again, it's just like the idea of this. As you start going on, you start throwing strikes other than just punches. So I might come in with an elbow, and now he has to clear it differently, and it just gets you, because now I might just do one, and I come right back. So now you're actually getting into the active idea of like, whatever they throw, I'm trapping, clearing out of the way, and I'm throwing a strike back, and now it becomes a little bit more fluid. Now you're ready for when, okay, now we're in a match, he throws whatever he wants, and now, you know, I ate a punch here, but now we're gonna go and trap, throw strikes, whatever from there. So definitely give trapping a shot, and understand that trapping is one of those principles that any discipline I've been in, it applies. It has some way, shape, or form has found its way into that discipline. Again, Wing Chun, it's big, JKD, it's big, karate, taekwondo, boxing, Muay Thai, anything that involves striking, you're gonna see some form of trapping, but they may not call it that. But just understand the principle and the avenue is still there. I appreciate Rob for hanging out with us today. Check him out at Combat Self Defense. We'll post all his information down below so you can give him a shot. Hit the subscribe button for his channel as well, as he does dish out some phenomenal content. Otherwise, give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.